So with the Rube Goldberg experiment being in the last lesson, I knew it would be fitting to explain how you pull it off, and pull off that thinking in the ambiguous space we talked about with other people. In the corporate world, you are on teams that are going to be representative of the entire company, and it's no different for any sports team or any school group, ones that you may have been on before. So in order to work best together, the team must lay out the guidelines, break the ice, and establish goals, shared goals. It's kind of like a microcosm of a well-functioning community, so you want to get along together. To set up the expectations, actually, we made a collaborative agreement, or a team charter. Nothing here is going to be set in stone, but it's something that you can refer back to when conflict arises, when there's a disagreement, or when you kind of need to get a grip for your bearings. For ours, we laid out how often we would meet, how soon we expect responses while communicating out and about, say via text, and defined what roles we thought we had based on actually the Toys R Us simulated mini project that we had at the beginning of the year in Business 101. So we spoke in the same terms for describing our roles because of the personalized app that we got to use at the beginning of the year that tells us where our brain has some strengths. So this is called the HBDI instrument, and I had strengths in the green and red areas, and it's going to be placed down below so you can kind of see where you fall, or you can even download the HBDI app. So in the green area, those are described as breaking everything down into elements. It's more practical, so I'm organized, I like things sequentially organized, I like it to be planned, and I like it to be detailed. I also had strengths in red, where I thought I would actually have the most strength, and those are more sensual, more analogous, and more systematically organized. So I like it to be more interpersonal, I'm more feelings-based, and I'm more emotional when working. So that's more of the relational one. So go ahead and check that out. You can even check out 2 of my team members, Connor Thomas and Maggie Sullivan's, and see where maybe you would lie. And if you're in a group right now, maybe encourage everyone to also download that app, and you guys can compare and contrast and see maybe where some areas you need help on or where you definitely have covered and what to expand away from. So one example I'm going to share with you guys is the first big experience that we required all hands on deck, and that was the teach back for us. And we were assigned the topic, we actually chose the topic of heart research. So it fell right during spring break, adding an extra obstacle, an extra challenge, and what we had to do was create that lesson plan for heart research. So it was up to us to decide what would strike a note with the students since they had already learned that content, and decide what types of tools to engage the class with. So here's how we tackled it. With us all being apart, I took to my laptop and planned out our entire presentation. I came up with extra examples, detailed, not detailed, so if we scrapped one, we would move on to the next, or we would just move on with newer ideas. So back on Sunday evening, we spent many hours in Farmer before the teach back, and edits were made, many edits. We reordered, we added, we polished. So in this case, I shared only my interpretation, and then offered it up for others' interpretations. We compromised, we sat in the study room using all of our resources, the whiteboard, surfing the web, talking it out, and going over and over it again. So I'm going to include some tips on what's best for collaborating, especially when it's a new group of people for you, because I know that I personally mesh a little bit differently with groups since I have discovered that I'm more and more independent. And I mean that as a person, so it doesn't have to mean that you have to be an independent worker just because you're maybe more introverted or extroverted or whatever the case may be. As a worker, you can be a little bit different. Working in groups is definitely not new to me, it's just not as comfortable to me. So you got to find what makes you most comfortable and push the boundaries to see how far out of your comfort zone you can get, because it's going to be for the best of the group. And that's collaboration.